Okay, folks, we're ready to go now. As you can see, Aristo is back, and this is called Aristo Returns. Both and is the title. And go ahead, take it away, Aristo.
Yes, I know. Thank you, Ron. Thank you once again. It's good to be here, and it's been a while. I'm glad to see you situated in your new place, with your little I am crown chakra above your head. It's very telling, and everything is, now we see the books and a broader view in the background. So let's hope that a new cycle is beginning. And with a new cycle, a brand new attitude, a brand new outlook, another foot forward, shall we say. You've put many feet forward in the past. And, now you have another one, another opportunity, shall we say. Like you said, you can see the sunrise, you can see the ocean from where you are, you're very high up. It may not feel as grounded as it used to be. It may feel a little more boxed in some ways, but I believe that you have potentially the opportunity to gain a certain broader perspective. That's my sense from what I see in everything. So let's recap a little bit, because there's many things with which I've disagreed with Ron Van Dyke over the last few years in his most recent videos. Even in the past, of course, we've never been eye to eye on everything. But and it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't want to focus on that. What I want to focus on, and the one thing that we've agreed upon, and that is the philosophy of both and. So that's why I got this wacky title. I mean, about 5 minutes before I suggested it, I had a better one, but I forgot. So we were talking about all these things, and it just, but it's about the same. So I just wanted to tell you guys that, yes, this is me here. If you don't know, what's Ron's next video about? Well, it's 30 minutes or so, and I'm gonna mostly, but still, it's gonna be participatory with both of us, talking about both and. Why do we like this philosophy of both and, Ron? I mean, we've seen how, from my perspective, I've seen how divisive the either or philosophy can be. That you end up, it's almost like gravity. You start either or, and you end up polarizing. You just go, you slide in.
That's the problem, polarization.
And you can't help it, and it almost feels comfortable. Black and white, good and evil, this and that. And yes, the alternative, again, doesn't mean it's another form of polarization, because you go, oh, there is no good and evil. See, again, you either believe in good and evil, or you say there is no good and evil, and you're polarized again. And you're trying to escape polarization, but you end up in another one. The social engineers, psychopaths, or just plain idiots or trolls or whoever, people who like to mess with us and feel it empowered or powerful or dominating because they get to step on us and confuse us and make us weak.
It disempowers us.
Exactly. The parasites. That's a parasite thing. A parasite disempowers you and feeds on that and feels empowered. It's feeding. It's vampirism. So the vampires, for lack of a better word, and even that's too good for them, because a vampire or a parasite will make sure its host doesn't die. But if somebody slams you and wants to do away with you, then it's a cancer. So it's a whole other story. A cancer will die when the host dies. A cancer is a stupid organism that is stupid because it's created a very stressful environment. So it's adapted to the stress, to the toxins, to the evil, so to speak. Let's just call it toxic dysfunction or toxified dysfunction. And because of this, it needs that. So everything else has to die. And it feeds on that, a different environment. If, for example, a cancerous life form were to emerge on the planet, its motive would be to terraform the earth into a primordial environment that would be hostile to the rest of life. This is exactly what the human mutation of psychopathy is doing. Okay. Now, again, the human mutation of psychopathy, and I speak of this because I recommend to people to not stick to ready-made categories like race, religion, body type, even appearance, sexual orientation. Just forget about that crap, because that is what one group of people wants you to think about all the time, because it polarizes you.
They
Even
want to make a single issue the only issue.
Exactly. And look, so you're saying then somebody would tell me, but you're talking about psychopaths, so it's us and them, right? Well, if it were that easy, no, I'm not going to make an exception to this. I'm not going to say, however, polarity is positive and polarization is something else. See, polarization is being stuck on polarity. Polarization means you're at one end of the seesaw. Polarity means you hold both ends of the seesaw and you are aware of both ends of the seesaw. So you are balanced without being static. It's a dynamic situation. The seesaw moves up and down, it vibrates. You got degrees of freedom with polarity. It doesn't mean I have to be, let's take the gender thing. I don't have to be male and female, In one way, however, I have to be masculine and feminine. However, think about this. Nobody tells me how I have to be masculine and feminine. Now, the way my physiology works is my masculinity is body and certain behaviors and certain external expressions. My femininity is the psyche. It's the way Jung described it, the animus and the anima. So there's a certain, the Taoists have it this way, the lower pole of the body is considered feminine. It's the hot, powerful, well, not really, that's not the way it works. But for the males, the lower pole of the body is fiery. The phallic, whatever, the way sexuality is and everything. It's rushing, it's intense, it's very immediate, like fire. And the higher pole of the body is feminine. The masculine mind, regardless of, feminists don't want to admit this, but it's feminine, it's receptive. Men are easily influenced. As fanatical as they may be, somebody stuck something in their head. They're very easily influenced in some way, but it's beyond that. I don't want to get into conceptual categories, but let's just say the mind, the head pole is yin and receptive. The bottom pole is yang and active. And so in the female, traditionally, according to Taoism, you might disagree with it, the head pole is active and dynamic. That's why there's a sort of active feminine intelligence that threatens many males. And the bottom pole is receptive and feminine, the reproductive, the receptivity, everything from the way the orgasm is, everything is more, shall we say, a fluid as opposed to fiery. But that's just one thing. What I'm trying to say with that is that you don't have the males being one thing and the females being another thing. You have the males having the same two poles arranged one way, and in the females, the same two poles are arranged another way. So basically, you have a difference in orientation of the same thing. We are equals. We have the same poles. We have the same hot, cold, water, fire. Let's put it that way, yin, yang. However, in one of them, it's arranged one way, and in another one, it's arranged that way, and thus you have complementary genders. So that's one way of looking at it, and that's a simple way. It's a biological way. It keeps things simple for me, for example. All the rest for me is a complication, but I have no gripe with anybody choosing anything else. What bothers me is when they shove it in my face. Nobody likes anything shoved in their face.
Exactly.
Come on, who likes it? Shove something in my face. That's an offense. That's offensive. And people who scream, "You offend me," and shove it in my face when I don't feel I did anything but express an opinion or a viewpoint, even if they don't disagree with that. Oh, there's racism, whatever you're promoting. The thing is, whatever my viewpoint is, I'm not supporting atrocity. Are you supporting atrocity? Are you supporting somebody who commits atrocity? Then again, well, we know this person and that person commits atrocity, so then you're dancing the dance of polarity again. What people call dualism. But again, you get caught into that mold, your dualism and monism. So poof, you're polarized again. Oh, you're the other polarity. Even our diets are polarized. Are you a vegan or are you a carnivore? And you notice on the internet, the biggest conversations, the greatest threads on social media, the most, hubbub and interest is where people become polarized.
On one side or another, and it doesn't matter the issue.
Well, look, we live in a society, Western society is built on bread and circus. Okay, bread and circus, sports, spectacles, and that's it. It's a spectacle. Polarization makes us feel that we're part of a team. We're the football team, in fact. Instead of sitting there and spectating, then you also participate now. Now you're one of the players. So you're cool. You're a celebrity because we celebrate the players of the spectacle. So our whole society is geared to draw us and seduce us into polarizing because it's cool. Even though we hate it, even though we criticize it, we end up polarizing when we criticize it. Even if I sit here and express an opinion, somebody can come up and say, well, you're judging something, like they always do. The new age spiritual type of people, many types, go, oh, you're judging now. Or they castrate or hobble or bind the passion that you have about something and say, oh, that's just an opinion. That's just speculation. Which is, how dare you place my insight, my viewpoint, my passion in the category of some random fucking idea or just pick up something out of thin air or the so-called off the top of my head type of thing. I've devoted time and energy and passion and motivation, and you have, and everybody does, to our viewpoints. If we haven't, then we should shut up and do so. My honest opinion again. If we don't have a viewpoint, if our viewpoints are just coming off and spouting crap that we saw on TV or read in some book or whatever, without processing it very, very deeply first, and really having, if you want to have an argument, have it with yourself. That's,
I do.
Exactly. But sometimes you run around in circles again because you polarize in one and then you polarize in the other. The seesaw isn't good enough. Both and is beyond the seesaw, because the seesaw is still either or. Yeah, you got the whole thing in your, but you're jumping from one side to the other. So how do you expand? See, it hurts. It's stretching. It's like doing yoga when you're not ready for it. You can even snap it sometimes if you stretch yourself too much. So a lot of people, and why am I babbling about this crap? Because a lot of people say, do something. You've heard it yourself. Do something. Well, we don't know how. Going around and recycling our stuff, boycotting small businesses or big businesses, helping the occasional person on the street, whatever we can, that's all well and good, but the crap is designed to accommodate for that. It's also been designed so that at least 10% of a population do not suffer so much. Why? For the same reason that the Las Vegas casinos or any casinos designed it, that 10% of the people that come in have winnings. Nobody else is going to come in then. If everybody loses, nobody's going to be going to the casino at all. So you have to have a calculated minority actually having success and then promote it as if it's everybody else but you is having success, in order for people to keep betting on the system. And then you have other people reaching the end of the rope, frustration, and saying, well, we have to do a revolution. And usually what that means, as far as what I've observed, is pushing other people on the front line or sacrificing yourself like some fool. Look, all of that's been calculated into the social engineering equation. You bet it has, because that's all those people do. That's it. They just sit there and play chess all day. And they've been doing it for hundreds of years, for thousands of years. And you go, where is God, in all of this? Well, I'll tell you what, the thing is, somebody has cancer or a disease, and they're crying, where's the doctor? Where's the doctor? Yeah, but okay. You've fallen asleep and you've dreamed that there's this doctor that's going to come and save you, when actually the doctor has created you with an immune system and the intelligence to know what you're supposed to be eating, what you're supposed to be doing to maintain your health. You don't need a doctor to treat your wounds if somebody has knowledge. In the old days, they had wise people who knew about herbalism and could treat wounds. Of course, people died and all that. And I'm not saying to go back. This is just an analogy. I'm saying there's a saying. I want to express this old ancient Greek saying. It's pagan, but they say, more or less paraphrased, it's if you want God to act, move your hand. You take the step. You do it. Because why? Because you are manifest. You open the door for the divine to come in. And then the action itself is going to be natural. There is no such thing as supernatural. But if you've been wounded, so you cannot access your divinely created, designed traits of activating divine presence on earth, then it ain't going to happen. See, that's why it's called cancer. And the doctor, all he knows how to do, according to the paradigm of the great architect, that's the Masonic paradigm, and that's actually what Christianity considers the divine to be, the great architect. Whereas the divine is actually our parents. Your parent, you don't call your daddy the great architect, or your mother the great architect, You're not Pinocchio. That's the thing. Are we Pinocchio, or are we the children of the divine? Are we artificial intelligence to the divine? Or are we natural intelligence? The only way to be natural intelligence is if there's a continuity from divine to manifest humanity. Otherwise, we're artificial intelligence. That's what the psychopaths are trying to convince us. That's the Illuminati way. And they're not doing it because they know better. They actually believe that crap. That's the true Illuminati crap. That it's not the devil worshiping and whatever and the torture and all of this. It's the idea that any intelligence is artificial, and matter is just a dead thing that we can pound and pound and pound and manipulate, use, and enslave. And anybody who's below us in intelligence, as we define it, basically it's a justification for enslaving others. That's all. So I'm rambling on it again because I want to urge people, if you really want to make a difference, learn first how to make a difference in your own way that the system cannot track. If you want to create a group that talks about actually making a change that's going to threaten the system, do not do it online. It's a no-brainer. Why would you want to do so? I mean, okay, so I'm sitting here and wanting to do away with some criminal in my neighborhood, and I get all the other neighbors and let's get together and find a way to defuse this criminal who is well armed and can kill us all with the slightest provocation. Do we go to the neighbor's house, to the criminal's house, knock on the door and say, excuse me, can we hold a conference here where we're going to discuss how we're going to do away with you? Or can you give us a recorder? So we need our telephones, the ones that you've tapped, to talk about how we're going to do away with you, So, and at this point, I can still have this conversation. I can still talk about this stuff because, of course, the data is being taken, but it's all taken into account. It's part of the equation. Worst scenario, some troll's going to come and try to test me or something. I mean, there's bigger fish to fry. But at the same time, you take advantage of people. You don't need paid trolls anymore. You just got people who were bullied when they were at some point, and now they feel good in becoming social justice warriors, I guess, is the SJW is the acronym now. They feel good. They're being like crusaders. The crusader with a cross that went and hacked up all the darkies in the Middle East back in the day. In the name of God. It's the same thing, although in an information type thing. This is how to beat the so-called info war against the system. You beat it by taking people from the system, deputizing them into crusaders, and putting them back in the system to screw apart any idea or whatever inspiration to make a difference. So if you want to learn how to make a difference, you need to and it's safe to do so. Nobody can tap into you. Nobody can read your mind yet. They can't fucking read your thoughts. Yes, there's a lot of crap saying that, yes, the Wi-Fi now can get into your brain and leach your thoughts out. And look, how much is reality and how much is bullshit? We are being gaslighted. It's far easier to gaslight us and make us feel paranoid and scare us to death than it is to pop up with shit that is really inconvenient when you have a lot of people. And to tell you the truth, I wouldn't even be afraid of artificial. There's crap coming out with artificial intelligence. Oh, now AI, can compose art better than people. It can make music better than people. It can, it can, doctors in AI, this in AI, and that. So we don't need you folks anymore. And then it'll say, oh, but of course I'm not talking to you on the other side of the screen. I know you're a fine, upstanding citizen. You can adapt to all of this. I'm talking about the useless eaters over there, your neighbors or the other people. They polarize again, instead of basically polarizing, you know, in a way that's visually oriented or dogmatically oriented. You polarize in terms of just you and the elites. No, come on, be the guy that, or the gal that sits at the table, not doesn't sit at the table, but lies at the floor at the foot of the rulers and picks up crumbs. That will be your privileged position, see? And people will be proud of eating the crumbs off the table of whatever, you know, and maybe I'll rise up and be a lord one day. That's what it was in the feudal system. They promoted all of these fairy tales so every peasant could think that they could actually be knighted one day after they served their lord, you know, or at least the god will make them feel better, you know, in some faraway paradise. All of this is bullshit. And if you want to step away from polarization outside of alchemy or some kind of esoteric process that's very difficult for most people, you know, reclaim your mind. That's the simplest thing you can do. Just reclaim it and then outsmart the assholes. I mean, outsmart the psychos. Just say, look, you know, how can this crap that I'm seeing from Hollywood, you mentioned this movie about Snowden. Now, with all due respect, yes, you know, he did point out a few things, but from the moment that Hollywood made a movie about the guy, you know something's up. So even if he was sincere, you know, now there's a seed of doubt because Hollywood endorses him. You know, what they say about David Icke. David Icke is sincere on the one hand. On the other hand, oh, he's making money, he's doing all of this. See, what are our criteria here? Our criteria are all external. Our natural discernment is gone. And you say, well, I'm not psychic. I don't have that. Well, you can read body language, can't you? You see the guy on his picture. You can see his eyes. You know, does this look like an honest man? Does this look like a deluded man? Does this look like somebody but he's been trained? You know, well, you train yourself better. We think that just because it's a science, that it's better, that it's more, that it's above us. Of course, they're trying to dumb us down and make us stupid. But just because you're forced to be stupid doesn't mean you can't keep exercising. You have to exercise harder. Exercise this, you know. So now that, what?
I just said, yeah, think.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
And
I mean, that's the key, as we said it, both and. How do you do both and? How do you think, feel, or feel, think, or feel? You know, it has to synthesize. That's exactly what the mystical traditions emphasize in inner alchemy on a deeper level. You take your feeling, your feminine side, and your positive side, your sun side, and your moon side, and you fuse them together in a sacred marriage. That is the sacred marriage, exactly. But you don't have to go that deeply. You don't have to be special or have this concept. You can do it as you are, by just taking feeling and thinking, analysis and synthesis, and dancing with the seesaw until the seesaw collapses into one thing. And it will happen. Just don't fall for the bullshit and respect yourself without having, and be suspicious of well-being that's artificially generated. Well-being that's generated at the expense of taking a side. You know, even if the side is just and whatever, that's what they call ego. That's fine. We need ego. But this is ego bloating. It's like an athletic person and somebody who's bloated and can't move. You know, oops, politically incorrect. Sorry. But somebody, you know, atrophy, you know. You've seen the movie The Matrix. Everybody's seen that, where you had those people stuck in the pods all their lives. So they couldn't, you know, so they were atrophy. And that's what we are. We're stuck in the matrix and we're atrophy. Our true gifts is the body. The physical body is indistinguishable from the energy body when you are alive, and it's meant to be that way. So this marriage is already there. It just needs to have some spice in it. You're already thinking and feeling when you're a child. Our imagination is already combined with our reason. We're being torn apart as we grow up. All we have to do is renew our vows. So if I were to remake the title, I would say, you know, both and, renewing our vows of life, our life vows, our commitment to our being. but you can't kind of squeeze that in. So we'll keep the title we have. And that's basically the gist of it. Is it's not just enough think people, because people don't know how to think. They are told, and it's not an insult to people. It's because anybody who is constantly bombarded with being told what to think and how to think and what the authorities are. And then if you try to, and then you spend a lot of your time, I know I have, trying to convince other people, becoming the one who enlightens other people. Well, that isn't working, because the more people that know the so-called truth, the more bullshit can seep in. In my honest opinion, you can't enlighten everybody or the majority. 10%, and that's pushing it. If 10% can change, then everything changes. But think about it this way. If 1% changes, then another 9% can change. So if 0.1% changes, then another 0.9% change, and then 1% changes, and then 9% changes, and then you have 10% change, and then you go to 100%. So if either one person truly changes, a process starts, but it's so slow, it's imperceptible. That's why, Ron, you don't see changes, in my opinion. They're really not there to the point that they're going to affect things in a noticeable manner, unless your discernment is hypersensitive. But if your discernment is that hypersensitive, you will feel the pain of the world and everybody's anguish, and it's going to be very, very hard to get by even a single day. Many hypersensitive people go into so-called spiritual crisis, and they feel like they're going insane, and then the system bombards them with meds or some other thing, or their bodies conk out, So it's almost like if you're empathic, you pay the price. It's almost like a sin to be empathic, to be compassionate, because there's so much suffering in the world, and then you just want an easy solution, either to polarize against it, or to actually be at ease with yourself that you are doing something. Because technically, if this whole doing something thing bugs us, it means that we feel guilty. And if we feel guilty, then something's up, because we're not guilty. Everybody's really doing the best they can. But part of doing the best you can is grasping every opportunity to do better. Every little tiny detail. Doesn't matter if it's going to take you 100 miles or one step. Go that one step. But don't take a step forward and take a step back if you see or suspect that this is what's happening. There's no point in anybody changing the world for anybody else. When you change the world for yourself, not just your life within the system, because the thing is, if you are working in the system, for the system, by the system, the world is not going to change. You may survive and have your little niche because you're that percentage that makes it through the casino winnings or whatever, but this is why it pays to be humble. And humble people don't lord it over other people. And humble people don't say what I'm saying, at the same time. See, I have to bring it all back. There's a saying that Americans like, especially. They go, it's not about you. And well, I tend to disagree. It's all about you. It's all about me. It's about you. It's about him, her, everyone. Because if we deny that it's about us, then who is it about? It's about somebody else. Where am I? How can I act if I'm not present? So it is about me, because I have control over my actions. My freedom is for me. My responsibility is to myself. And thus, I cannot be responsible if it's not about me, because I cannot be present if it's not about me. It's not selfishness or acting like an idiot or an asshole or overbearing. That's saying that human nature is psychopathic, and that's what they want us to think. So please, dare to claim that it is about you, and encourage other people to understand that it is about them. Because then you don't have to go through some artificial empowerment, either compressing somebody or joining a group or polarizing to feel important. And deny it because you're afraid to admit it's not about you. This is social engineering. When I see the media constantly throw that phrase over and over and over again in every single thing, I get suspicious. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll examine it. And that's what I encourage people to do. So I apologize if this diatribe, this ranting sounds a little bit, Yes, I apologize if this ranting sounds a little bit preachy. It's been a while since I've been with Rob, but I've heard a lot, and we all put up with a lot. And I'm not going to go and bitch at people, but I'd like to know that this is my viewpoint. It's based on passion, and it's based on commitment and empathy and desire, to have people get out of spinning their wheels. All of us, we don't have to be dramatic about it. And maybe it's happening, because the thing is, I don't see it on the internet. See, it doesn't mean it's not happening, but I don't know. And that's fine, but I do sense that something is going on. I do sense that something is on the verge of going on, but it's not what we think. Existence is more than what the media says. Existence is more than civilization. It's more than religion. It's more than science. It's far more than all of that. And it's more than what we think, but it is about us, because we are the frame of reference of our own being. That's the whole point of it all. From our frame of reference, we fulfill who we are, not because we have an obligation, but because that is what is meaningful and fulfilling. So we don't go down the route of the occasional thing that Ron says that's really, every time I hear it, the Shakespeare quote that life's just a joke of meaning, this nobody.
Tale told by an idiot, full of sun and fury signifying.
Yeah, exactly. And the psychopaths are all, yay, Ron, that's all. I hope everybody understands it so we can pull the plug, that much easier. So I encourage the opposite, not the opposite point of view, but to take that point of view, take the anguish from which it comes, own it, and then transform it. Because dedicate yourself to your discernment, to your passion, to fusing all of these opposites within you, and then look at other people, and see how much is manipulation, and that's fine. Let the 90% be manipulated. Let the 99% be manipulated. You're not an elitist. You're just doing the best you can, and that is always enough if it is truly the best you can. So we live and learn, and we move on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Aristo. On that note, we'll draw this one to a close. Stay there, though.
Okay.